Hi class, today we're going to be talking about the swine industry a little bit so that you can get some background on what producers are looking for when they choose a breed of pig or hog. So pork has really grown in its popularity in recent years, and it's one of the fastest growing meat markets around the world. So the US has also been producing a lot more in the last 50 years in response to that. When producers pick a breed, they usually base that on what kind of facility they have available, which we'll talk more about in a little bit, and also the purpose that they're breeding for. There tends to be two main purposes. Either they are using them as breeding stock, which means that they're raising replacement females to be able to give birth to more pigs. And in that case, they're going to prioritize things like the litter size and the maternal instincts of that breed. Or they're raising them as market animals. Really, our only practical use for pigs in the United States is they are raised for slaughter, either for meat or for byproducts. So the goal in that case is rapid, efficient growth, high percentage of muscle, and then some of the things that differ among the breeds that they can kind of choose from is the carcass size, the skin color, and the leanness of the meat. Then based on whether they're going to be used as breeding stock or as market pigs, there's kind of two categories of breeds. There's what we know as the maternal breeds, and those would be the ones that would be kept as breeding stock. They tend to have large litters, and strong maternal instincts make them good mothers. They tend to have more offspring, but those offspring can be slower to mature than market animals. So the market pigs tend to be what we call terminal breeds. So these guys would be raised to market weight and then sent off to be slaughtered. And an emphasis here is on the size of the pig and the carcass quality. You want that faster growth rate. And a lot of times they're not going to really care as much about whether they have those maternal qualities if they're not keeping them to breed anyway. So traditionally, pigs were usually raised in a farrow to finish type manner, where the pig would be with that farmer for its entire life cycle. They would be bred there on site, and then the mother would go through her gestation period, which for pigs, a gestation or pregnancy is 3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days. So it's really easy to remember because of that. So they go through that gestation process, they farrow, which means giving birth to the piglets, and they tend to have a litter size of somewhere between 8 and 12 in that litter. And then they would be raised, they would be weaned just like any other animal when they stop drinking milk and are on more solid food. They would have a big growth period, and then they would go off to be finished. So we've seen this pattern before with beef cattle, same kind of idea. So a lot of small farms still do this farrow to finish process, and at North Hartford, this is the process that we tend to try to follow as much as we can with our pigs. However, there are ways that this can be split up, and when you do that, you basically have two sectors of the industry. You have the ones that breed the feeder pigs, and then those are sold and other people will finish those feeder pigs. So a feeder pig has been weaned, and they're usually weaned somewhere around 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes even 3 to 6 weeks of age. And then once they are weaned, they're allowed to grow a little bit more, and they're usually sold as feeder pigs at somewhere between 30 and 90 pounds. And then these finishers would buy them, and they would allow them to grow up to market weight. And market weight is somewhere between 240 to 280 pounds. Now, that is not the size of a full-size pig. They can get a lot bigger than that, but that's kind of like the optimal weight that they can be slaughtered at and really get the most for your money. After that, the feed efficiency takes a turn. So just like beef, they'd probably be finished out to encourage some more fat to be built at the end on grain and things like that. And usually they are going to reach that market weight at somewhere between 16 and 18 weeks old. So that's part of the reason that pork is such a profitable industry to be a part of, because they really grow quite quickly, much more so definitely than a beef cow. So you're going to be able to get to that market stage and start the whole process over much more quickly because of that. So regardless of if it's a farrow to finish operation or a feeder pig operation, there's generally going to be two types of facilities that they can have. And the first type is pasture-raised pork. So these guys are going to have free access to a pasture area. Sometimes it'll be a wooded area and small shelters. Because of this is really more suitable to small scale farming. It takes a lot of land to do this. There are some advantages to this. There's lower startup costs for an operation like that. It's easier to manage manure and air quality, since air quality tends to get worse in enclosed spaces, and this is all outside. And there are a lot of people that suggest this might be better for the pig's welfare. There's a lot of conflicting studies on that, but that is one potential advantage. And also consumer preferences. Usually if they were raising heritage pork, people like to be able to go to your farm, see the pigs roaming around, that kind of thing. Some disadvantages here. Pigs tend to create a lot of mud when they root around with their nose, and they do eventually tend to cause erosion problems. They also tend to really have a lot of destructive behaviors in that rooting. So all of that can lead to higher maintenance costs. One of the best ways to avoid that is to rotate them between pastures before they have much ability to do much damage. And then that way the pasture can kind of regenerate in the meantime. But that means that you have to have a lot of land to be able to do that. It's also a really high labor cost to keep up with all of that. In the case of pasture-raised pork, your production is really limited by the amount of pasture that you have available. And one of the other downsides is you really don't have any way to control the climate that the pigs are in. Lighter colored breeds tend to not do as well outdoors because they're going to get sunburned easier, and they do tend to be slightly more susceptible to disease and parasites as well. So those darker breeds like the Durocs, the Hampshires, they usually do better outside. You do also have a greater need for parasite control since they're going to be in contact with more things that are living in the natural environment. So the other major type of facility that's in use in a lot of hog processing is the confinement facility. So this is kind of the opposite of pasture-raised pork. The pigs live inside for basically their entire lives, and they live in groups in pens. This makes it a lot more suitable to large-scale producers. You don't need as much land to produce hogs this way. Because of that, confinement facilities tend to be much more efficient. They produce a lot more hogs using fewer resources, not just land, but you can actually get by with less water, less feed, really all of those different costs. You can also use a lot of mechanization to lower labor costs. Pigs can actually be fitted with electronic collars that will monitor things. You tend to have more farrowings per year since you can support more pigs in these environments. And climate control can be used to create really ideal conditions for those pigs. It's also easier to monitor their nutrition, monitor their health, and again, a lot of that can be mechanized. Some of the disadvantages include that there's a really high initial investment in building a facility like this in the first place and outfitting it with all that technological equipment. You do need to practice more intensive management procedures to really make sure that everybody is safe and healthy. And diseases can spread very quickly in enclosed environments, so it's really important that you have good biosecurity practices in place. So if you're a producer that's looking at different breeds that you might want to raise, you're going to consider what kind of facility you have, whether it's pasture-based or a confinement facility. And then you're also going to consider, am I trying to raise breeding stock or market hogs? There's one last little bit of information that you want to know about before we get into our breeds. And this is going to be something that's going to allow you to tell them apart. So you're going to see this suffix shire on the end of their name. So Berkshire, Hampshire, Yorkshire, all of those. That shire suffix, I want you to notice what that kind of indicates on the pig. Whenever that is at the end, you can pretty much guarantee that those pigs are going to have these upright ears. They're erect ears, they stand up on their own. If you look at the other pigs that don't have that shire suffix in their name, you'll see that their ears flop over a lot more. So that's going to be one important way that you're going to tell some of these apart, especially the white breeds, which are going to be more difficult. All right, so stop here, make sure you've gotten the notes that you need, and then when you're ready, go ahead and join us for our swine breeds video.